All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, I'm going to do another response to Rick Beato, who was responding to a video about a guitar teacher who was talking about how his students just don't practice. For extra aesthetics, we're going to add another flying V. Okay, so anyway, because that just makes life cooler with flying Vs. A very dusty flying V. But the point is that the guy was Rick Beato had asked this guy a question of, you know, what percentage of your students don't practice? And the guy answered, well, simple, 100%. You know, like you teach them all kinds of lessons, but they don't practice, right? And the thing about that is, my takeaway is this, is that for every one musician that you know about, there's probably 100,000 you don't, right? And there's a reason for that, because not everybody has the same passion levels, right? Not everybody is going to pursue music the same way, or their instrument the same way. So for me, for example, I'm obviously very passionate about my music, my guitars. Like I'm thinking guitars all the time, right? And stuff like that. And I'm always trying to improve my playing and stuff like that. And I've been playing for now 46 years, right? So does it mean I'm any good? Yeah, whatever. Like really, how long you've been playing is. It's not it doesn't correlate with how good you are. A lot of people, after about 2 or 3 years, whatever level they're at, they kind of stay that for the rest of their lives, because they get to a level where they're comfortable and they just stay there, right? Now, when you're talking songwriters, they look at the acoustic guitar, they learn the basic chords, and then everything else, they're just not interested. They just want to be able to write their songs, right? Very utilitarian, that's fine. So those guys aren't going to be practicing all the time. They're going to be probably writing songs more than they're practicing. Then you've got guys that buy crazy guitars like these, and they want to see if they can become the next Steve Vai or Yngwie or Tim Henson or, Joe Satriani, Randy Rhoads, whatever. And they spend hours and hours and hours playing. Like when I was a teenager, to play 6 to 8 hours a day wasn't that uncommon for me. Minimum was kind of like an hour a week, and then on the weekends, if it was raining or something like that, I would spend that time, just playing and playing and playing. But did I get any better? You know what I mean? Like, I got good at playing the cover songs that I was doing. At the time, yeah, I got really good at that. But did I really get better? You know what I mean? Because like the guys that I was playing, they all kind of played about the same level. Like Slash wasn't really any much better than Joe Perry or whatever. It's not not a pot shot at either guy or whatever. But what I'm saying is, once you learned to play to that level, it was just kind of like you could play at anybody in that level. But if you want to take it to a higher level, you have to take it to a higher level, and you have to practice to do that. So when you get somebody that's, say, less than a year's playing, that first year that a person plays, when I worked in a music shop years ago, it was called Metro Music. I was there for probably about 6 months or whatever, as a student volunteer kind of thing. And I would say of all, they taught drum lessons there, guitar lessons, bass lessons, violin lessons, you name it. I would say the average kid lasted about 3 lessons. That was probably the average kid. It didn't matter the instrument, right? Soon as effort had to be required, it was only a handful of kids that really stayed into it. Now for me, like I say, I would say that, okay, yes, I started playing when I was 5, and I dabbled on it till I was about 10, and then when I was 10, my cousin, he was starting to play a little bit more, and he got his first electric guitar or whatever, And I wasn't jealous or anything like that, but it was like I got to play it, and it was an old Harmony. No, it was either a TCM or a Harmony. It was out of the Sears catalog. This thing, by today's standards, is definitely not a guitar you'd want to learn on. It was virtually unplayable. But it was $100 guitar back in the day, and it was my cousin's first one, and it was the first electric guitar I'd ever played, and it was really cool because it was electric guitar, it wasn't acoustic. But I could play a handful of things. I couldn't even tune my guitar myself. I had no guitar teacher, nothing like that. The only way I learned was either by jamming by other people or whatever. And there used to be an old guy in my town named Sid, and I'd take my guitar to him to tune it up, right? And one day, I was 13 years old. I had just gotten my first electric guitar, which was the 1968 Harmony Rocket. And I brought it to him, and he says, no, I'm not going to tune it. He goes, you're going to sit there and you're going to learn how to tune it until you tune it. And it took me like an hour to tune the guitar for the very first time, but he showed me how to do it by ear and open strings. And I've been tuning that way ever since. And once I got it once, that extra level that you go up a bit, just learning how to do that, inspired me to do more. And then, you know, Guitar for the Practicing Musician came out. Well, it was already out, but I discovered it. And I started learning all these, like, you know, Randy Rhoads songs and all kinds of crazy, you know, Steve Vai songs and whatever. And that kept me motivated. But I know a lot of other guys that were starting out about the same time on their electrics the same time I was. And none of them, some of them, two of them still play. The other guys, I don't think they've played in probably since high school. So they're virtually, you know, they've kind of regressed back to like beginner because they just didn't put their effort there. They just weren't into it. So the problem you run into is you can't force somebody to become a musician. It's either it's in them or it's not. They're either into it or they're not. So when I was listening to this guitar teacher talk about how, you know, like, am I failing as a guitar teacher? No. It's kind of one of those things you can only nurture what's there. You know what I mean? Some kid could be the worst guitar player, worst student you ever get. Like, just can't hold time, doesn't listen to instruction, whatever, but he's really into it. That kid is probably going to play for his entire life, right? Even if he's got really rough off the ground, whatever. I've been trying to get my nephew to play instruments for 5 years now. He's just not really into it. But one day he might come up to me and say, Uncle Jeju, can I play the drums, or can I play the guitar, or can I play the bass? Like, he dabbles on it, and, you know, but you can't force him, right? But also, too, he's still kind of a small guy, and these guitars are kind of gigantic for him. But maybe when he gets, you know, a couple of years older, he's a little bigger, and he picks up a guitar that actually fits him, he might actually sit there and want to learn it. And then someday I might come home from work, and bang, there's my nephew, you know, sitting there shredding away on my Flying V or something like that. I'd be very happy if that happened. But you can only nurture what's there, and I've taught enough people how to play guitar over the years. I'm not what you would call a dedicated guitar teacher, but I have done it. And usually the first 10 lessons are the most boring because I try to get all the theory out of the way as early on as possible, you know, before I start giving you the fun stuff. And my style has changed too, so I would teach people a lot differently now than what I have just a few short years ago. But I've never felt like I didn't do enough for anybody that I taught, and the few people that I have taught. I always felt, okay, well, I got them to that level, and they've lost interest, or you just can't quite get them to practice. As soon as you leave, they don't practice, right? And then other people, it's like they come back and say, I practiced this, and I practiced this, oh, and I tried this too, and I tried this, and I tried that. And you're like, okay, that's great. That's great, but don't get too far ahead of yourself because you don't want to learn habits that you have to unlearn, right? Stuff like that. But you never discourage somebody from learning. You know what I mean? So there's those that are going to want to learn, and they're just going to take up the trade, so to speak, and there's others that are not. And don't be offended if like you can't inspire people to your level, because you're only nurturing what's there. Like some people, it's just a mild curiosity. Can I play a couple of campfire songs? Other people, I want to shred like Randy Rhoads. That's different dedication levels, isn't it? And so for the guitar teacher, I'd say, number one, you're doing a fine job. I don't know you. I never learned from you, but I'm sure if you've got people coming to you, you're doing fine. Number two, nurture the ones that want it. You know what I mean? Nurture what's there. Don't worry about the ones that are not practicing. Tell them to practice. Yeah, encourage them. Say, hey, look, you only go as far. You get out of it what you put into it, and you only go so far. So you only go as far. You know, the idea is the ones that do go far, but they hit roadblocks. You want to help them with the roadblocks so that they can go further. Because again, you never know. You could be teaching the next Steve Vai or Tim Henson or Yngwie or whatever, and you don't know. So for me, or maybe just the next Ed Sheeran, whatever, who knows? Everybody's level is going to be different for the instrument. Some are more dedicated to it. Some are like obsessive like me. You know, and there's people even more obsessive than me. Guitars and instruments all over the place. Violins. But anyway, I'll leave it at about that. So, yeah, I thought that was a good response to that video. It's like, yeah, you know, just nurture what's there, you know. And for, like I say, most instrument, the reason why there's only a handful of musicians on this planet that you know the names of, and there's a reason for that. And that comes down to the dedication to their instrument and how passionate they are about it. And that's all there is to it. The only thing you could do is be happy if you get to be a part of somebody who takes it further than you can. That's to me would be the ultimate goal. Anyway, have yourselves a great day.